Good morning, Bucknuts. It is Thursday, October 12th, 2017. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and change. Going to do something a little bit different for you today. We're going to dedicate the entire show to our local weather. Just kidding. It's overcast. It's the Midwest. Dayton and Minneapolis, pretty much the same thing, which is good. Steve Wiltfong, Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports, has joined us. Steve, how are you this fine morning?
Good morning, Daniel. Doing great. What's the good word?
Oh, it's going to seem like we're trying to choose topics for ratings here, but once again, the topic that drives every site and every fan conversation is back, and that is the topic of quarterback. So we will get knee-deep in it right here. You guys can check out the site. Steve and Bill Kurlick have done some great reporting on this, but everybody knows Emory Jones out of Georgia is Ohio State's quarterback in the class of 2018, a dual-threat star who's really been in our frontal lobe since he came up here for not the last one, the one before that, Friday Night Lights, and committed. But there is a new name on the horizon, and that is the name Jarren Williams. Like Darren spelled correctly, just a J in front. Another quarterback from Georgia, committed to Kentucky of the SEC. But it does seem, as Emory Jones has looked at Alabama, that Ohio State has looked at Jarren Williams, making it even more interesting. It appears Alabama's two quarterbacks that they want are Emory Jones or Jarren Williams. Give us your general vibe on where things are and how things have gotten to this point, and then we'll kind of go into specifics.
Well, I think you have a situation where Ohio State's quarterback, Emory Jones, who's been committed since July of 2016, is obviously communicating with other programs, so Ohio State's going to have to make sure they don't get caught without a quarterback in their class. So they're reaching out to a very talented player in Jarren Williams. Ohio State, they swing for elite players. They take guys that they think can help them win championships. They're not just taking they could have went down the quarterback list and they could go after a guy that they know is a slam dunk to get, but Jarren Williams is a guy that's good enough to help a program win a national championship, in my opinion.
So here's what's interesting here. I think that Jarren Williams is suffering on the Ohio State site from a little bit of, I don't know what I would even call it. Maybe we're stereotyping. And I'm the same way. When I see Kentucky commit, I will admit I downgrade you a little bit. Coming from Ohio, given the fact that they're always wanting Ohio kids and they don't get any of the really great ones, et cetera, we look down upon that. And then I think the fact that Emory Jones has been so highly regarded here has worked against him. But I would encourage everybody to go watch the most recent episode of the Elite 11 TV show. I know it's on the NFL Network. You can probably find it online right now. And basically, Jarren Williams made the Elite 11. Emory Jones did not. Jarren Williams, if you watch the show down the stretch, basically it's a reality show, so they stick to the main themes, and it's, Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback committed to Clemson, also from Georgia, versus Justin Fields, who was uncommitted at the time, has since committed to Georgia, and those two are battling it out. But Jarren Williams and Trevor Lawrence are on the same team at the opening, and the coach of the team plays Jarren Williams over Trevor Lawrence until basically he has to put Lawrence in there for TV purposes at the end. So I understand Jarren Williams is a lesser-known guy committed to Kentucky, but in the eyes of people like Steve Wiltfong, who have seen this kid play, I think we need to take into account, I think what you mentioned of him being the third kid in Georgia has also worked against him. But this is not, I want to make it clear to people who are listening, Jarren Williams, there are plenty of people, one on the phone here, and I'll take myself out of it, who think Jarren Williams is a better prospect than Emory Jones, correct?
Yeah, I'm one of them. I think you look at Jarren Williams, he plays in the highest classification in Georgia high school football. Every game's a big game. he's not surrounded with a bunch of Division I players like some of these Georgia powerhouses are. Also, he's led his team to victories in his last 2 seasons, Dan. He's thrown to date 42 touchdown passes and just 7 interceptions. In a lot of these ball games, the other team that he's playing against has a little more Division I firepower, but he's the quarterback, so he neutralizes that just with his ability to. When you have a quarterback under center, I'd take a Division I quarterback and give you your 4 Division I defenders, and I still, the scale is even, right? So, Jarren Williams, he's completing his attempts at a 60% clip. He's got some running ability. He has 18 career rushing touchdowns as a 3-year starter at Central Gwinnett down there in the Atlanta area. And, at the opening finals, he really flashed. Justin Fields was the guy that stole the show, but after that, you could say Jarren Williams was the second best quarterback at the opening finals in the 7-on-7 portion. Tanner McKee was really good, and Trevor Lawrence flashed at times, but Jarren Williams was always consistent, and he's just so poised and has a great command of what he's doing. And right now, he's got a frame where he's long and lean. He's going to fill out when he continues to develop into a grown man, but he just kind of looks like what an NFL quarterback looks like in high school. He's still got that developing wiry body. So plenty of physical upside there, and he's just a very confident kid that really got overlooked because in his state, Trevor Lawrence was the first one to blow up. Trevor Lawrence is going to break Deshaun Watson's passing records this week for yards in a career, and I think he's on track, if he hasn't already, to break the touchdown record. So Trevor Lawrence, understandably, he blows up first. Then Emory blows up second, and then Fields blows up third, and then when Fields blows up, everyone kind of clears their table. So they're all in on Fields, so no one's really all in on Jarren Williams. And so Kentucky, they committed Jarren Williams. Then he reopened the process when Alabama, LSU, and Florida really started to pursue him. But then those schools at the same time were still recruiting Fields. So it's like, well, we'll go where we're wanted. So it's back to Kentucky. And Kentucky's 5-1, and their program's on the uptick right now. They really should be 6-0. They blew it against Florida. And for Jarren, he sees an opportunity to come in there next year and play for a coaching staff he trusts and have a chance to compete for the job as a true freshman. But with that being said, Jarren obviously went to Alabama last week. He's been communicating regularly with Coach Day. He's talked with Coach Meyer on the phone. I don't know if he's going to visit, but Ohio State's intriguing to them, and they're still learning about the school, and we'll see what happens.
It's just bizarre that all 4 of these guys come from the state of Georgia. And normally I really do think that had something to do with this. Very interesting stuff. Also lets you know why whoever is coaching at Georgia, they should play off or bust should be the mentality down there. That state is ridiculous when it comes to talent production, and it's only getting better. How do you see this ending up? Bill Kurelic has commented on it and gave his kind of idea of how he sees it ending up. In the long run, do you think Ohio State will head to camp next year with Jarren Williams or Emory Jones wearing a colored jersey?
Well, it's way too early to predict if Jarren Williams will be a Buckeye. He's committed to Kentucky, and he's considering a couple other schools. LSU's in there, South Carolina's in there. Obviously, we're getting a lot of Ohio State talk because the Ohio State site's so big, and there's so many reporters that cover Ohio State. He's definitely interested in Ohio State. But Emory Jones is the one I truly don't know. I mean, he's been committed for so long, but he's taken visits, and so I would never say anyone's guaranteed to stick if they're taking all these visits. So, could Emory? I really don't know what Emory Jones is going to do.
I think the quarterback situation at Ohio State, be it Burrow, be it Haskins, be it Tate, be it Emory Jones, is going to be a very interesting thing to watch over the next 18 months or so.
It's going to be the quarterback battle.
Out.
I'm so intrigued by the quarterback battle next spring, and we've talked about it. You have Haskins, you have Burrow, and then Tate Martell. He's just got a different he's just a different kind of dude, a different kind of competitor. So I'm interested to see where he fits into it, because I do think Tate Martell, of those three, I know for a fact, or I shouldn't say I know for a fact, but I think he's the one that I would bet the most on. He could handle the pressure of being an Ohio State quarterback day in and day out and playing in some of those big games. You know, he's got the nuts to do it. I'm not saying the others don't, but he's just played in the closest thing to it on the prep level. And he's embraced scrutiny, and he's embraced all the things that come with being QB1 at a place like Ohio State during his career at Bishop Gorman. But, we'll see how it's coming along with him digesting the playbook and understanding those things. But I've said it on previous shows. I could see, and it took Trace McSorley and Baker Mayfield. I haven't been doing this that long, so I was always more into the NFL trait quarterbacks. But Tate Martell, he could definitely have a Baker Mayfield, Trace McSorley type college career after seeing how successful those guys are. I think he's got that kind of ability in him as well.
Tate Martell is a better prospect than McSorley. And I'm not saying he's going to turn out to be a better quarterback, but I saw both players.
Well, McSorley,
not even close.
Sure. Well, McSorley won a bunch of state championships. I just think he was under.
I'm just telling you, Bishop Gorman State. I covered the area McSorley plays in for 15 years. It's good football. It ain't Bishop Gorman. It's not even close. So you in the Gorman locker room to be the man. That's what you're talking about, Martell. Like, yeah, the Martell thing is, like you said, it's going to be the strength of his personality as well as his game. And he's got the whole vibe. Watch the Elite 11 thing. Half the time they talk about is Martell. He's not even there because I think it's Dorian Thompson Robinson, if I pronounce that correctly. I always get those hyphenated names screwed up. He's there at the competition. He's never even played a high school game because he backed up Martell. They talk about that consistently. So enough quarterback chatter there to get you through the morning. That would be enough for a show. But here we aim to over-deliver. Let's talk Tommy Togiai, the defensive tackle out of Pocatello, Idaho, the football factory that is the state of Idaho. He visited Washington this past weekend. There was talk of official visits to USC and elsewhere. But his coach told Bill Kurelic earlier this week, he has shut it all down. It's going to be Washington or it is going to be Ohio State. You also checked in with Team Togiai. What is your vibe? Maybe give us some factual updates and then how you see this working out down the stretch.
Well, just to rehash, when I crystal balled Ohio State for Tommy going into his Ohio State official, Buckeye sources were excited about where they stood with Tommy. Tommy visited for Friday Night Lights, and there was some chatter that perhaps maybe they could close him on his official visit. And it's obvious they're a finalist, and Tommy loves Ohio State a lot. But even then, Ohio State sources said keep an eye on Washington and keep an eye on USC. So they knew that they would have to battle those schools later, and Washington undefeated in the top 5 again. He's got a good relationship with Coach Peterson and Coach Malo on that staff. And obviously you have the Polynesian connection with the Washington Huskies. I could see him going to Washington. There's no question. For me right now, I'm still doing some digging, but certainly he could end up at Washington.
Oh, so you think that it's 50-50, or do you have a vibe right now?
I don't know.
Foggy on your crystal ball?
I probably should be foggy. I'm still digging on it. I talked to Tommy, and he enjoyed really being around the people at Washington. That was what he emphasized. And he also sees an opportunity to play right away for them. And so those are the things that are standing out. And then just knowing what I know about recruiting with Coach Malo and Coach Peterson, they do a good job of recruiting their top targets. And Tommy feels very comfortable with the personalities in the Washington locker room. And again, he loves Ohio State also. He's had 2 fantastic visits to Columbus. And if his mind was made up, I think he would have announced for one of the 2. So I think that he's still figuring things out between both of those programs.
Should be very interesting to watch. I have to say I'm not super confident. The West Coast vibe once Washington is now back to respectability, coming to they went to the playoff and have a very good chance to make it this year. I think it works against the Buckeyes. We appreciate Steve stopping by, some details there on two super important positions, quarterback and defensive tackle. Have a good one, Bucknutters.
Take care, guys.